I hope all of you had a good lunch today, and people are just coming in. After a very detailed discussion on fintech and digital public infrastructure, one of the areas which attracts the attention of investors today is mutual funds. Especially in mutual funds, the concept of SIP. Yeah, nowadays we see that through SIP people are investing 26,000 crores. So despite FIs taking away a lot of money, I see the statistics every day, almost that much of money is being invested by domestic institutions. So one of the reasons why our stock market has done well in the last 5 years is we had a very stable and steady income, steady inflow of funds into mutual funds. And by investing in that, of course, I am one of the losers in investing in mutual funds. 1992, I invested in 10, 15 schemes. Out of that, only 2, 3, I still hold some units. 12, I don't know what has happened to them. So from then onwards, I was not investing. But all those who invested in mutual funds in the last 10 years, the story is that they benefited a lot. So to talk about that, we have a leading expert in this field, Mr. Manish Mehta, who is the joint president of a Kotak Mutual Fund, and he is in charge of sales and marketing, and he is also involved in digital business at Kotak Mahindra Asset Management Company Limited. So I would like to invite, he has more than 25 years of experience in the BFSI sector and 22 years in mutual funds. So, and he has exposure to sales, distribution, strategy, marketing, and digital initiatives. And before coming here, the best part is that he was based in New York in Kotak as president and CEO of Kotak Mahindra Incorporated. So he may be able to share some insights on how to invest in foreign assets, including crypto. This year they are saying crypto might reach $180,000. That is optimistic estimate. So we look forward to hear your views. Yeah, Mr. Mehta.
Thank you, sir, for your kind introduction, and good afternoon, friends. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you all a little about mutual fund industry. So, there was a time, I would say about 5, 7, 10 years back when, we would do a presentation like this. And when we would throw open for Q&A, this question used to be always very common. कि अगर FII ने बेचा तो हमारे market का क्या होगा? Okay, this question used to come all the time because we were in an era where in case if FI started to sell in Indian markets, we would see huge drawdowns. And I think for a lot of people who remember 10, 15 years back, there was a very common saying that, अरे government ने LIC को phone किया है support करने के लिए बाजार को. Okay. And today you are in a situation where मुझे नहीं लगता गवर्नमेंट LIC या UTI को फ़ोन ही करता है. मेरे को लगता है शायद उनके स्पीड डायल में से वो नंबर हटाई गए. Because if you look at the power of domestic investors or basically through mutual fund industries, we've been consistently supporting the market that at every level whenever FIs or FPIs have been selling Indian equities, we are standing there like Shah Rukh Khan to say, मैं हूँ ना. So, that's the change in the attitude, I would say, as far as domestic investors is concerned. And sir, as you mentioned, during my stint in the US, I was there between 2010 and 2015. And believe me, at that point of time, India was not a country in flavor. And in case if some of my mutual fund managers wanted to visit us in the US, I used to sweat to fill up a calendar of 5 days. That, where will I take him to meet with institutional investors? Because nobody wanted to hear the India story. And believe me, today we are in a situation where almost every month, 2 to 3 foreign investors are wanting to visit to India to understand what is this India story. And a lot of mutual fund managers in the US, who at that point of time probably were not regularly giving me meetings, every month now want to do a call with me to understand that what are your Indian retail investors up to? What is this SIP story? So that's the change that we've seen. So again, this is the big change as we've seen that how because of mutual fund industry and because of domestic institutional investors, every time an FI has been trying to sell, we are there to support the market. And it's very clearly visible that over a period of time, if you see, foreign ownership in Indian equities has actually been coming down, but DII's ownership in Indian equities has actually gone up. And as far as secondary market activity between 2021 and 2024, while FIIs have been net buyers of about 70,000 crores, mutual funds have net bought 7 lakh crore during this same period of time. That's the kind of support that domestic investors have been giving to the capital markets. So this tagline which says mutual fund sahi hai, वाकई में actually ये बहुत ही सही है. Just to give you a quick sense in terms of the kind of scale of numbers, I came to the industry in 1999. And that time, Kotak Mutual Funds AUM was 250 crores. And I went to one of my mentors to ask him that I'm getting this opportunity to work in mutual fund sales. What is this mutual fund all about? Should I take up this job also? And that person told me that no, it's a sunrise industry. It will do very well. And that gentleman was part of a mutual fund which was 500 crores AUM. And he actually told me, my AUM is 500 crores. I'm a large-sized mutual fund. 250 crores is not a chota AUM, mid-size mutual fund hai. So just imagine 25 years back, 250 crores of AUM was considered a mid-size mutual fund. Today, I think 250 crores is probably the AUM that one of my RM managers as far as, from his distributor is concerned. So we've really come a long way. I mean, as an industry, as we speak as of December, we're almost close to 67 lakh crore of AUM. The most interesting and the heartening part of it is this growth of equity numbers. So almost 50% of that AUM is today equity AUM, which historically, if you see mutual fund, the industry was very dependent upon fixed income category, liquid, overnight, bond fund, gilt fund. That is where most of the monies were. But today, equity as a percentage of the overall AUM, we're almost at about 50%, sorry. In terms of folios, people like you and me who have been buying mutual funds, we're almost at about 22 crore folios. As sir mentioned, monthly SIPs, we're now almost inching closer to 26,000 crores. And in terms of SIP accounts, just 1-2 months back, we crossed 10 crore SIP accounts. There are more than 10 crore SIP account holders in our industry as we speak. Again, obviously, in terms of while there has been a strong growth in overall numbers, the equity penetration has been very, very encouraging. And, I think this number only will continue to keep growing. SIP has become like the preferred route for investors. Today, many a times when I go and do presentations in smaller cities and towns, and there are investors who come up and say कि नहीं हमको mutual fund में नहीं invest करना है, हमको SIP में करना है. Then you have to tell him कि sir SIP भी mutual fund में ही होती है. So that's the kind of understanding and I would say acceptability amongst investors who today say कि no, in terms of SIPs is the way to go about as far as wanting to take exposure to capital markets. We've been averaging, almost close to 50-60 lakh new SIP accounts, which are getting registered every month in our industry. Obviously, a large part of this growth is driven by individual investors. If you go back in time, many, at least would say 10, 15, 20 years back, institutional investors played a very pivotal role in as far as the mutual fund industry was concerned, specifically in the fixed income side, because you had large institutional investors like bank treasuries, corporates, who would use mutual funds for parking their surplus money. So it was mostly liquid funds, overnight funds, those category. But now obviously in terms of the share of individual investors, which are non-institutional by nature, has been going up substantially. In terms of unique investors, while yes, we have 21, 22 crore folios, but in terms of if I consider you as one unique investor on PAN, then we are at about 5 crore folios as far as unique investors are concerned in the industry as of now. And this number obviously year on year, month on month, obviously has been growing very encouragingly. It's just not that the mutual fund growth has happened in the bigger cities like Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Pune. Even if you go beyond the top 30 cities of India, the penetration of mutual fund in all these smaller cities and town also has been extremely favorable. While in terms of the total AUM 10 years back, the share of B30 cities, as we call it, in the overall pie was about 7%, which is almost close to 20% now. In terms of equity AUM, they're almost at about 30%. If you look at net sales of the industry, almost 35% of net sales is coming from beyond 30 cities as far as India is concerned. In terms of the SIP book, that 25,000 crores of SIP book, that number I spoke to you about, almost 40% of that is actually, from B30 cities. A lot of new accounts in terms of are coming from there. As far as folios, new investors who are coming and trying out mutual fund, that number also continues to see greater penetration coming out of the B30 cities. I did speak to you about, SIP flows. I think in the last 1.5 years, we've seen an exponential hockey stick kind of a growth, whereby, I would say in about pre-COVID, we were at 8-9,000 crores of monthly SIP to almost about close to 26,000 crores of monthly SIP flows every month, that is, sort of coming into our mutual fund industry. If I broadly just look in terms of how the breakup of investor profile is, obviously in terms of women participation in mutual fund industry is roughly at about 23-24%. Men is it at about 75-76. Again, individual investors have overtaken institutional investors in terms of overall participation in the share of AUM that's there at an industry level. Yes, as far as the profile of investors is concerned, a large part of our mutual fund investors are in that 35 to 40, 45 kind of an age bracket. And I would say a large part of that is also the fact that as awareness of mutual funds as an investment tool has started to increase amongst people, and the industry per se is probably 25, 30 years old. So that's where a large part of the investor base is at that point of time. But thanks to the advent of fintech platforms and a lot of awareness as it's gone up. I started my career, the first thing I did was open a PPF account and take an LIC policy. But today when I go to campus and interview people and I ask them that, do you understand do you do investments, do you do mutual funds? And it's very nice to know that a lot of them say that, oh, I already have an SIP account going on. That's also a scary part, that many say that I also have a trading account, but fine, as long as I can hear that they have an SIP account. So sometimes, that itself is a good thing. And the fact of the matter remains is that population of people who are coming into the working force is a very large, I would say, tribe of crowd. The distributable surpluses that they have in their hands is much, much more probably than, maybe what we had when we started our career. And it's not that they're frivolous. They are very, very conscious of spending. They're very conscious of their money and how they want to invest it. They understand. And obviously, thanks to social media today, that a lot of information is easily available for someone to, read and understand about mutual funds and take an investment decisions. I did speak to you about in terms of the folios, which almost at about 22 crore folios as of now. I would say it's just not the mutual fund industry. One offshoot of mutual fund industry obviously is what we call as alternate investments, which is portfolio management services, AIF. These are obviously complex products where then the investment ticket sizes obviously are much, much higher than what a layman can start his investment journey through mutual fund. But even this category of products have seen, very encouraging growth. And I would say as investors are moving up the value chain, like started their investment journey with a mutual fund, have reached a certain portfolio size, and they believe that now besides mutual fund, they also want some kind of complexities in their portfolios as far as products is concerned, then AIF PMS is something that a lot of them look forward to. And even these category of products, be it AIF or the PMS, we've seen, very, very encouraging growths in terms of from time period, like 13 times is what the mutual fund equity AUM industry has grown. But as far as PMS is concerned, AIF is concerned, those numbers are also almost in line or higher than that. So I think overall that entire, I would say, the cult or the understanding of investing in equities or investing in capital markets continues to be, very high, very encouraging as far as investors are concerned. But as I was mentioning to sir, that we have a long way to go. I mean, in spite of everything that we have done so far, if you look at investments in the household savings, this was the RBI report for 21-23. Mutual funds is still at about 5%. So we have a long journey in terms of trying to bring in as many investors as possible into the industry. Obviously, our regulator, SEBI, our governing body, AMFI, there are a lot of such efforts and initiatives being taken at their end to see to it that, how can we make mutual funds and SIP a household name. You all must have seen the AMFI campaign of Mutual Funds Sahi Hai, which definitely has given a lot of awareness and familiarity amongst investors that, this mutual funds is a good tool, or SIP is a good tool to start one's investment journey. SEBI is doing its bit in terms of, just yesterday they made an proposed announcement of saying that how can we offer it at as low as 250 rupees. And I was talking to just gentlemen over here a while back, and I said many a times when we do survey, the feedback we get is a lot of people still believe that mutual funds is only for the पैसों वालों के लिए, हमारे लिए नहीं है. That is the kind of feedback I hear quite often. And I think this effort to say that it's a very simple product, you can start with as low as 250 rupees, probably will go a long way to bring in a lot of more people into the investment fold. So again, as I say this, I always say that the potential is far, far more. And many a times I make this comment saying that forget about the fact that yes, our population is 140 crores. I said, I think even if I go after everyone who has a four-wheeler car in India, my folios will double from where we are today. And I think everybody who owns a car in India necessarily doesn't have a mutual fund. So I think that's what we'll have to probably work towards. And I would say, what is the levers? I mean, yes, I think the entire cult or the entire acceptability of capital markets or equities or investing through direct stocks or through a PMS, AIF or a mutual fund, what is suddenly that big level of confidence that I think a lot of investors like us in this room are having, obviously stems from the fact that the growth story as far as India is concerned has just taken off. If you look at the last 10 years or 9 years journey, be it in terms of the per capita GDP, where we've seen a substantial increase, in terms of on the innovation index, where we've done very well. The forex reserves have almost doubled from where they are at this point of time. Our GDP has gone up. Our market cap has moved up, almost closer to about $5 trillion. And I think it's just that general sense of confidence amongst, I would say, just not domestic investors, but offshore investors also, who say that, that we are a nation which will continue to keep growing at much better than what the world is growing in. So it also gives us some degree of confidence that yes, I think if the economy continues to do well, you will see the effect of it on capital markets, and if we are able to participate in that, why not? There has been thrust through the macro factors. So if you look at World Bank reports, which says India's economy to remain strong despite subdued. This was a report that they published in September 2024. The Financial Express, put in an article in December 2024, which spoke about the, infrastructure boost and what the government is doing as far as capital expenditure is concerned. Market cap, which crossed 5 trillion. This report came in Economic Times. So, lot of global investors are also of the view that yes, as a country, as a nation, we will continue to be on this part or growth part of trajectory, and definitely we will see the benefit of that. There was a time when we were a follower as far as the world growth is concerned, to probably now becoming a leader. One could debate that, GDP growth rate of 7% revised down to 6.5%. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? If I was to look at it with a positive outlook, I'll say at 6.5%, which other country is closer to where we are? I can't think of any such nation. So the fact is that even at 6.5% of GDP growth, we have now sort of become the drivers of growth as far as the world GDP is concerned. Obviously, domestically, you're seeing economic activity which has substantially picked up, post-COVID. Capacity utilization is one good indicator that, you're almost reaching close to 80% of capacity utilization. And that also then gives the confidence to say that industries believe that, there is demand going to be for goods and services. And many companies across industries today are looking at allocating money or, in building capacities, either greenfield or brownfield. Obviously, in terms of from an infrastructure point of view, we've seen tremendous improvement all across. I mean, be it ports, be it power, airports, roads, rail. There is a lot of focus and thrust as far as the government is concerned on building infrastructure across all these various areas of work. And I think that obviously has added substantially to the GDP growth as a country that we've seen. So they took the first lead to say that, we will invest in infrastructure, and then private sector obviously has then sort of followed later. Obviously, when it comes to exports, pure exports, our market share would be low. We're nowhere compared to what China is as far as exports is concerned. But when it comes to services exports, GCC, as we are all aware about, I think we are market leaders. We've taken a huge lead over there, and I think that industry is poised to continue to keep growing, which obviously does well to us because it's one of the industry which has a very large recruitment of talent. And that sort of helps the overall ecosystem. So our share over there in the services continues to grow out. And if you compare ourselves to any major economy, we continue to stand out compared to the peers. And I think that's what probably stands us apart. If you talk to any, I'm sure many of you all in your professional capacities must be talking to friends or professionals in the global markets. And I think a lot of them are very, very optimistic about India or looking to, invest in India. In February, you have a lot of global conferences which will happen with a lot of institutional broking houses. And I'm sure that if you just were to walk into a Trident at BKC or a Sofitel or BKC, the kind of vibe that you're going to see during those days sort of just gives you the confidence that, yes, I think the world definitely looks at us with much, much more optimism. As I mentioned, in terms of capex will continue to grow. The central government and the state government is doing their bit, and I think private definitely will, sort of catch up soon. Yes, the world looks at us as, because the fact of the matter is a large part of our GDP is consumption oriented, and I think our domestic consumption story continues to remain very strong. While there have been a lot of reports talking about a bit slowdown as far as urban is concerned, rural was. But I think even if you look at the HUL results, or if you look at the kind of commentary coming out of many companies, I think there are green shoots that people have started to see as far as rural demand is concerned. And I think urban, I think, will hopefully follow suit. So I think the consumption story continues to remain very strong, and that's what I think a lot of companies look at. So, and because of a lot of these factors, and the fact of the matter is that we have seen a huge transition post, I would say, demon, where investors have moved from physical assets to financial assets. There was a time when, in case many of your family and friends who are elder by nature would be big proponents of real estate. That they believe in having a lot of real estate. But today you're seeing a generational trend where a lot of people are today saying that no, maybe 1 to 2 houses maximum. Everything else actually should be in the form of investments. And that's the shift that we saw. A lot of money, I would say, is slowly, steadily moving from physical assets to financial assets. And this is a trend that we are seeing across India. Any small city, town you go to, when we meet distributors who represent a lot of clients, many people give us this feedback saying that, yes, it's not real estate anymore. People are looking at investments as a trend. So that's one big shift that we have seen as far as our market is concerned. And I think mutual funds is very well positioned or poised, I would say, because definitely over a period of time, investors have realized that A, it's a very transparent product. I can know every day what's the NAV of the fund. At the end of the month, I can see a portfolio which very clearly puts down in terms of where my 10,000 rupees has been invested in that mutual funds across companies, across sectors. It is very liquid by nature, because if I need money, maximum I have to wait is 72 hours to get my money into my bank account. So I think that's the comfort. And the fact that, today aided by technology, both at an industry level and thanks to fintech platforms, it's become very simple to sort of, make that first investment or that first purchase in the mutual fund, and most importantly, trust. Touchwood, so far as an industry, we've never broken the buck. And I think that's the kind of confidence and comfort a lot of investors get out of, mutual funds. In fact, SIPs, I was mentioning, I think has become a very, very efficient tool for everyone today. I think a large part of investors are starting their mutual fund journey through the SIP route. In fact, SIPs has become such a household name that these are some examples of non-mutual fund industries who are using SIPs to market their products, and including a spiritual leader who said SIP is spirituality in practice. So I think कुछ तो हमने सही किया है as an industry, that many more other industry people are looking at SIP as a tagline to sort of connect and reach out to a lot of their investors. Obviously, everything can't be hunky dory. At the end of the day, either directly or through a mutual fund, you are investing in capital markets, and markets are markets. You can't have a one-way street going up. You obviously also don't want a one-way street going down. It's like a roller coaster. Many a times when we sit in a roller coaster, dil ki dhadkane बढ़ जाती है. You do your ups and downs and twists and turns, but when you come back again and park the roller coaster, most of us have that impression saying that yaar maza aa gaya. So, I would say investing over a long period of time through mutual funds and in capital markets is also going to be a ride. You will have topsy-turvy times, but, as a roller coaster ride, I want to believe that, at the end of the day, it will be a happy journey for everyone. And I say, Indian markets is like basically a Bollywood movie. Hindi movie में action होता है, emotion होता है, romance होता है, सब कुछ होता है. Villain आता है, झगड़ा करता है. End of the day में picture अच्छी ending होती है. So I think our Indian capital markets is also like one Bollywood movie. कि बहुत सारा drama होगा, but in case if one stays invested with their investment objective, which is maybe 5 year, 10 year down the line, I want to believe, looking at the past track record, कि हमारा भी ending will be as happy as at any other Bollywood movie. So thank you so much, friends, for giving me a patience here.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. You have an excellent presentation. Yeah, it was an excellent presentation by Mr. Mehta, but we have a Q&A, so you can ask him questions on market and what is the future of market, and about US markets. Yeah,
Yes.
please.
Give a big clap. इतना knowledge से हमारा नीलेश साहब आने के था,
Yeah,
but
please.
he was requested because he has some emergency to home. But I think you have been a strong foundation for to be a wise investor. He has given, so we thank you very much. Huh? Yeah.
Thank you.
So now we have 10-15 minutes. So whatever questions you have on the markets, US markets, cryptocurrency, whatever views he has, he can share with us. Yeah, we'll keep.
You want to talk further?
No, crypto I can't talk anything, because वो कहते हैं ना, ऐसा I always say ना that जो चीज़ समझ नहीं आती उसमें इन्वेस्ट करने का मतलब ही नहीं बनता. तो I really don't, once I asked my fund manager, we were on a tour together, I told him please explain to me FNO कैसे करते हैं. So 1 hour he explained to me in the car and मेरे को कुछ समझ नहीं आया. तो he told me एक काम करते हैं, कुछ जल्दी सीखना है ना तो एक ट्रेड कर ले, तब तेरे को तुरंत समझ आ जाएगा. And I didn't do that trade. So like
Question है, due to the Trump various policies, do you feel here there will be some impact on our market, which is already happening, but where it will stabilize?
So in fact, I was checking with our analysts and fund managers also. So I think a lot. It's okay. A lot of it has.
He wants you to sit. Yes, yes. हम अभी मेरा एक 15-minute section है.
हाँ.
So like this only I will do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
No, so
we are such a practical. हम तो पुराना है.
no, so in fact, I was asking our fund managers and in fact Nilesh sir himself that so I think what's happened in our markets is that I think they've just I would say they've priced in too much volatility that he will come and he will make a lot of changes. I think maybe the next 1.5 months one will have to watch out for him to say that how the language that he comes with. And in fact, if you see the last 1-2 days, if you see the US Treasury, which had gone all the way closer to 5%, has actually then come down to 4.5. So I think वहाँ पे भी थोड़ा market को लगता है कि at least the bond market believes that I think we sort of बहुत आगे भाग गए ahead of what Trump's anticipation was. You're not seeing that effect as far as equity market is concerned. India में उल्टा हो रहा है, 10-year वहीं का वहीं है. But equity market is already down some about, from the peak, I would say about 10%. So I think one will have to wait and watch. We've obviously, it's not when, many investors ask us that, I would say last 2-3 months, there has been sharp volatility. And especially investors who have come and invested in mutual funds in the last 3-4 months are all seeing negative returns. And what we just try to say is that, first of all, you never came with this short an objective. Obviously, when you invest in equity, you come with an objective which is a little long term. And I think one will have to wait it out. And we continue to keep recommending people saying that this is actually the time, because if markets were to come down and if your SIPs were to continue, then you'll probably add more units during this point of time by, sort of investing at lower NAVs.
Now, one more issue bothering everybody will be what would be the RBI monetary policy as we go forward, because the most of the, including US and all, they have taken the step, but they are again slowing down. So if you take the step for market demand or whatever, or thoda food inflation also has been moderated, but it has not come to the level RBI has the target. So I think that is also bothering the market, credit policy as such.
No, so as far as fixed income is concerned, very honestly, last 3-4 years, when we make market outlook presentation, we used to always keep putting one slide saying that on fixed income side, be as long as duration as possible. Okay, and I think 2-3 things happened. One, the fact that 2 years back when you had the change of taxation, so suddenly the long-term money which used to come into our industry just died down as a flow. Because today, if you and me are investors, it doesn't matter. We buy mutual fund, we buy FD, we buy direct bonds, or we invest in a credit AIF. Taxation is the same. So at least the smart investors have said that I don't see any joy in only looking at mutual funds. If I have the capacity to hold, and if I get some nice quality AA bond, I can directly buy and hold and carry and hold it to maturity. So one is that change. Second thing is, I think somewhere market is of the view now that this interest rate cut in India is not going to happen in a hurry. 6-8 months back, I'm sure, sir, you must have heard stories where many people said that US जब भी rate cut काटेगा तो उसके 2 quarter में India should start. वो नहीं हो रहा है. And I think somewhere, and sir, you've been in treasury for so many years. The fact of the matter is, I think RBI's worry today must be more on the rupee dollar. That if the rupees is under pressure, 2 years back they tried to support it by market intervention. They ended up
70
billion. So they realize and they realize it's not helping them in any way. So I think at this point of time, what RBI is trying to say is that fine, domestic from a growth perspective, because last quarter GDP growth numbers came down. So at least they are trying to say that domestic liquidity continues to be provided to the market. And as far as rupee dollar is concerned, till that doesn't stabilize or US gives some direction, I don't think they are probably in a rush. And I had the good fortune of hearing Dr. Das in his tenure at the Bombay Chamber of Commerce AGM. He had come and he made a very good analogy where he said that interest rate management is like a game of chess. He's saying in any sports if you play, if you make a mistake, you get a chance to correct yourself. But in chess, एक बार गलती हो जाती है, you can't correct your movement. So he's saying interest rate movement is like a game of chess. So you can't make that mistake and hope that you will be able to turn it around quickly. So I think that one statement gave at least everybody the indication that कोई जल्दी में नहीं रहेंगे हम. And anyway, now the new governor has charge. So I think from whatever little he has spoken in public, I think as of now they're trying to say that fine, rupee management will be important, but yes, growth should not hamper. So liquidity hopefully will, they'll continue to provide.
Thank you. Now, one general question. Indian economy, we have that vision of achieving the developed economy and $30 trillion and all. And per capita also from around $3,000, it has to go to around at least $18,000. But are we really utilizing, and that market also from the earlier, you had so much bullishness toward the growth story. But in the recent days, we find some jerk on that. So what do you feel on the long term or medium term? Are we able to catch up this?
No, so
That's the question.
yeah. So in fact, I think in terms of when you talk to a lot of a lot of mutual fund managers, if we speak to them, I think short-term volatility is definitely what you are seeing. But nobody's worried about as far as the medium to long-term story as far as India is concerned. And even many a times when we get an opportunity to meet global investors, because they keep coming and they keep coming to India. And in case, so we ask them also, like, what, and one thing is coming out very clearly is that their outlook on India per se continues to remain positive, I would say. And the thing is, here a lot of people come with a very long-term view compared to us. Like there was a CIO, he's an Indian, of a global pension fund managing $100 billion, and we made a presentation. My fund manager was making a presentation, and my fund manager made a comment saying that our markets are a little expensive in the short term. So he said, because he was Indian, he's saying, "आप क्या बात कर रहे हो?" But when I decide to give money to India, I will come with a 15-year plus view. He's saying, if you look at it from my point of view, I think you are one of the cheapest market in the world. Because his horizon was that long. So I think there is a lot of global interest that still continues to remain.
It is a time for India actually.
Yeah. So and as I was mentioning, sir, that 10 years back, when I was there in the US, it used to be very difficult for me to get meetings with people. But today, in fact, I know for the fact that my colleagues sometimes are now sitting and actually, we're playing the dice. Ke, isko India leke jayenge, isko nahi leke jayenge. Like, it's become that kind of a situation. And like now, our institutional equity will have their conference in February. And let me tell you, friends, last year, just my US colleagues brought 9 institutions, big investors to India. Cumulatively, they all were managing about $1 trillion, and out of that, 5 of them were coming to India for the first time. And today, like just recently, there was a big delegation which Nilesh sir was mentioning to us, that because Mr. Kotak had hosted them, and he said that you don't have to talk about the India story now. He's saying most of the time in this meeting, the discussion starts by saying, we know about your India story. You please just tell us when should we start and how much should we start. So I think if that's the kind of confidence,
this is very encouraging.
Yes. So if that's the kind of confidence, I think if people have, then it's a good thing.
So Jadhav sir, आपका क्या question बताइए?
Thank you very much for the presentation and the questions. Some answers we could get. But my query is very simple. Nowadays we see people, especially I was on the board of BFSI Sector Council, etc. Most of the students today want to be in finance sector. What's happened is there's a skewed arrangement where people either want to be in finance or IT and don't want to do real work in India. So it is going to happen that we'll have more finance professionals in India and people only investing in equity, and we will have very few companies which actually do the work and get listed. So what are your views on that?
Sir, I don't know where your data is coming from, because I am always struggling to get people. Okay. I mean, on a lighter note. But yeah, no, so the thing is, see, we also go to campuses, and I think somewhere it's a myth. Even when I was in my MMS college, for my understanding of finance was fund manager. Okay, so many people have that impression that when they think finance and if they think mutual funds, they all have that mindset saying that कि नहीं मेरे को तो fund manager बनना है, मेरे को investment banker बनना है, because I think somewhere their exposure has been to the fact that these jobs are extremely glamorous. Okay, not everybody can get into doing something like that. So I think as far as our industry is concerned today, like at least like we recruit sales. And believe me, it's extremely tough today. I mean, I said, I think I would say I was speaking to a friend of mine recently who's running an NBFC, and he says that even in those sectors also they've been getting maybe I would say entry level talent to be a little bit of a challenge.
What you're saying is right, but no one wants their children to be at the lowest level, selling insurance or selling things. So BFSI Sector Skill Council also, we found that this is the problem. How do we motivate people to work at lower levels is the bigger problem everywhere. Everyone wants to become CEO, MD or something.
हमारा यंग लीडर्स भी वांट, हमारा कंसेप्ट है आज यंग लीडर. तो यंग लीडर का एक्सपेक्टेशन को मैच करना एज ए सीनियर स्टेक होल्डर, इट इज आवर रिस्पांसिबिलिटी.
So in fact I would say
they are thinking little big is उसका वो तो
no, so I would say the last 1 year
good for the country.
So see, we've also realized that our industry also we're short of talent. Now I can't keep recruiting के चलो मेरे को कम लोग है तो मैंने 20% दे के, like we are mispricing our own people in many markets. That's a reality. So the only way now we have to do is like skill development. So a lot, like last 2 years we've started to go to campuses. Okay, and then we recruit people, and I know that my success ratio in a campus will probably be 50%, but I'm still happy with a 50% success ratio, saying that कि नहीं ठीक है, at least 20 में से 10 लोग भी मेरे industry में रह गए, तो at least as Kotak Mutual Fund we've added 10 new people to our industry from a sales point of view.
So with the last
that's the way
question,
how we've been going.
Okay, last question, our Manoj, he is from banking front, yes? With that, no, we are maintaining the time. The next session will start. Yeah, please.
Thank you, sir, for a very insightful presentation. You talked about the younger generation showing interest. I was interested in the opposite side. What is the interest among senior citizens, let's say, into mutual funds and other alternative financial products? And as a background, to what extent is their wealth increasing or changing overall?
So, so I showed you the graph in terms of where are the bulk of the mutual fund investors at this point of time. So, all of them are now slowly, steadily going to go into that senior citizen club only as far as investments is concerned. So, that bulge will also continue to keep growing. And, there was a Miles study which was conducted by our industry couple of years back, and they said there are 4 kinds of investors in India today broadly. One obviously is the entry level person who is starting his journey for the first time. Then you have the second level where he's just married, settling in, then takes investments extremely serious. Then the third is when the child is there, and then he has to start planning for education, marriage, ghar kharidna. And then you obviously have the last leg of the senior citizens where all his commitments in life are over. Probably kids are also completely comfortable and independent, and whatever savings he's built is eventually going to keep going to them only. So I think that segment of people continues to grow over there, and I would say that if more and more your current 34, 42, 45 wala breed of people in 5 years from now will go into that club. So I think you will then start seeing more, I would say, rationalization. And I'd read a study many years back which said that an average age at which an Indian seriously starts investing is 32. Okay, because उससे पहले क्या होता है कि वो पहले तो अपनी लाइफ की थोड़ी एस्पिरेशंस पूरी कर रहा है कि घड़ी खरीदनी है, बाइक खरीदना है, गाड़ी खरीदना है. बच्चा होता है ना, तब जाके वो सीरियसली उसको लगा. माई ओन इन्वेस्टमेंट, आई स्टार्टेड माई इन्वेस्टमेंट एट 32, 33, नॉट बिफोर दैट. टिल देन इफ आई पुट माई PPF फॉर द ईयर ना, मेरे को लगा मैंने मोक्ष प्राप्त कर लिया है.
और मनोज को
दैट्स व्हाट इट वाज.
आज का दिन में कोई VRS लिया और कोई रिटायर हो गया, सीनियर सिटीजन का मेजर काम है इक्विटी मार्केट है. हाँ, तो आज अभी आपका उनको बताने का कोई ज़रूरत नहीं. दे आर वेल इन्फॉर्म एंड ईच वन बोलते हैं अभी दूसरा जगह जाके उनको बेंड करके हम क्यों काम करने का. मेरा घर में बैठ के आई एम डूइंग एवरी डे. अभी देखिए कन्नड़ साहब बाद में टिप्स देने वाला है. ऐसे ही हाँ, वो है ना अभी डायरेक्टर भी है बट डेली एटलीस्ट 2-3 lakhs का भी कर सकता है.
So,
तो इसलिए
yeah, and-
सीनियर सिटीजन का
And I think awareness.
Yeah.
Agar, awareness I think is important. In average age at which people in Australia start investing is 25 and 26. One obviously is the reason that the government programs are such. Second thing is there is always an insecurity of job loss. कि कब नौकरी चली जाएगी पता नहीं है. इंडिया में वो वाला ट्रेंड नहीं है. जनरली पीपल बिलीव दैट जॉब इनसिक्योरिटी नहीं रहता है यहाँ पे इतना कंपेरेटिवली. So I think that also
side by
matters.
side they will
Yeah,
do that.
Yeah.
So give a big clap to our Manish ji, and we will look forward to future also. Every year, this connect edition is there.
No, no.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
very
much. Thank you so much,
Huh?
sir.
Yeah. Hello. Chairs, Chairs. Come.